So ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Vada Alam. So Vada is a documentary filmmaker and a short filmmaker. She's had many documentaries to her credit. And her short film, CT Scene, said he was selected for Kara International Film Festival in 2003. So she's directed docudramas, TV programs, a great area of interest in contemporary arts in Pakistan and Pakistani cinema. Her paper today is on inevitable influence of global world on Pakistan film culture. What is unique in Pakistan culture?
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, RMIT, and thank you, Dr. Vikram, for giving me this opportunity. And once I read my paper, then you will know how I am connected to this conference. So, inevitable influence of global world on Pakistan film culture. What is unique in Pakistan culture? Visual dilemma through internet and electronic media and 24-hour transmissions influence every culture globally. Some films produced in Pakistan and screened internationally give a contradictory image of Pakistani culture. Some critiques highlighted it more negatively and some positively. This does not ring well on Pakistani producers and directors to promote their own culture through movies. I will briefly walk through subcontinent history dated back from 7000 BC, which influenced both Pakistan and India. Later, I will highlight Indian cinema industry, contributing in Pakistani cinema industry and changes in Pakistani film culture. So, the charisma of internet and electronic media have the same effects on all humans of all ages. It is truly an age of images, as Rana Rashid, renowned artist of Pakistan, says, people confused if they are privileged or burdened with so many images come across. However, actors, directors and producers can't live in seclusion. The world of visuals around them influences even the most. In a country like Pakistan, which has a history of foreign invasions and supremacy, a search for identity is a common phenomenon. We have 7000, 2000 BC old Mehergarh and Indus Valley civilization, more than 1500 Gandhara region, and along the Silk Route between China and the Western world. Alexander the Great brought classical Greco-Roman influences, while traders from the East brought Buddhism. These works are extraordinary example of ancient globalization. However, many intruders came afterward, but in the reign of Muslims, most influential were Mughal dynasty. They did wonders with Persian Central Asian style, and in the end, British rules for 100 years. They left with a strongly conditioned behavior of aristocracy, modern and Western styles. In 1947, Pakistan has become an independent country. It was created as a homeland for subcontinent Muslim population. There was a pressure to govern with Islamic law. As a desire to construct a distinctive culture of the newly formed Pakistan from a combined past, but an inbuilt contradiction, as the state had rejected a portion of its history, art and culture. On the basis of the division of the land, thus the basic element of cinema, image, music, dance had been considered Indian. And instead of defining a path for Pakistani cinema, it had been declared the work of infidels in 1949 by Ministry of Industry. Cinema history in Pakistan is associated with the history of cinema of Lahore, but the history of cinema undivided subcontinent, there was an intimate link between Mumbai, the Bollywood in India, and Lahore from the earliest years. The relationship between Lahore and the other film centers was not one way. Mumbai had technical superiority, but when sound came to film, the technical dominions of Mumbai had to contend with the cultural dominance of Lahore. As far as up till now, Pakistani singers and actors followed this tradition in recent time as well. Artists and the technicians who made it good in Lahore before 1947 were invariably attracted to Mumbai. A.R. Kardar, an intellectual from a Punjabi family, made silent films in 1929 in Lahore, but eventually settled in Mumbai. Dilsukh Pancholi, who introduced Noor Jahan, a famous singer, he fled to Mumbai in 1947. A number of talented Muslims who have established themselves in the film industry of Mumbai moved back to Lahore. Among them was film producers, actors, actresses, directors, music directors. These creative artists laid the foundation of Pakistani film industry and were also responsible for producing some of the best film ever made in Pakistani cinema. W.Z. Ahmed was born in Gujarat. He was active as a filmmaker in pre-partition India, being an established personality in the film industry in Mumbai, Pune and Madras. After independence, he made films and studio in Lahore. In 1954, Ahmed played a prominent role in the campaign against imports of Indian films. Eventually, Indian films got banned. Ban on Indian cinema rebound on the history it sought to protect without competition. Pakistani cinema went to decline, churning out cheap imitations and formula films. Talented directors like Ahmed and Shaukat Ahmed Rizvi, legendary filmmakers who stopped making films altogether. 1948 to 69, it was an era of black and white Urdu and Punjabi films with a melodramatic theme. In the mid-60s, there was a apparent shift of themes of these films from musical romance to more family-oriented films. In 1970, the first Pashto film was released. The male-dominating revengeful hero was the main character. After the trendsetter like Maula Jat in 1979, the violence was introduced in Pakistani film industry as never been seen before. This decade could also be defined as the decade of decline of Urdu cinema. In the late 1980s, Indian films were banned on screens and watching them it was a crime. However, with the availability of VCRs and video cassettes were available by illegal means. But entirely the Pakistani cinema in its whole history lost versatility in the films. The long martial law and military rules created hard censorship and dictation on the film producers. In the film industry decline hastened with the advent of satellite and cable television. In 1990s, more and more cinemas were converted into shopping plazas. The revival of domestic Urdu cinema following Shoaib Mansoor's Khuda Ke Liye, meaning in the name of God, in 2007, the film trade with India was reopened officially after a break of more than 4 decades. Umar Ali Khan, a Pakistani filmmaker, says the screening of Bollywood movies in positive, at least people are heading back to cinemas after 20 years or so. Some argue that the playing of Hollywood and Bollywood movies are running the chances of Pakistani film success on the big screen. Jami, a film director, says in Pakistan there are many reasons due to which Indian movies are popular among our people, in which some prominent reasons are that we have historical cultural similarities with Indian, as in Indian movies are in Hindi or Urdu, and this language is easily understood in Pakistan. Our youth follow Indian actors regarding dressing, hairstyles and language, and even like to act as in Indian film celebrities. In 2013, where the local film industry is heading toward a success, a new trend seems to be picking up. Hussain, journalist of Tribune, says it has now become necessary to put at least one item song in every movie. Item songs are not part of our culture. There is no need to borrow the trends of thoughtless foreign cultures. Pakistan's own culture should be kept in mind before making such decisions. Kahoot, journalist of New York Times, says this is setting up a new trend in Pakistan where success of any film is not assessed by the quality of substance, where the success is judged by using women as an item and sexual object to dances around a number of armed spectators, and it keeps getting absurd because it is later termed as masala film. I think it's about time that we trust our audience. Let's be confident in our skills to pull the crowd solely based on our ability to tell the story. Journalist of newspaper The Nation, Zainab, says media is the mirror of society, so our films should reflect our culture, moral and religious values. Even dressing and language should represent and promote our religion and culture. On media person, it is 10 times more responsibility than any normal citizen. A music video director, actor, come filmmaker Zeba Bakhtiar crossed the border and appeared in the Bollywood film Hina, says it's a high time that we stop looking at India and focus on ourselves. We have good actors and good poetry and good music on hand. We make as many films as we like. She also noted that unlike India, Pakistan's rich history of the Sufi tradition is a gold mine of inspiring ideas. In recent 2016 circumstances, Rahul Ijaz of Tribune says in the wake of worsening ties between Pakistan and India, one cannot help but wonder how the Pakistani cinema industry would survive without Bollywood films. In the light of the possible ban on Indian content, the entire business is going to be affected as our cinemas rely on them for a steady flow of income. Cinema owner says we don't produce enough films to sustain ourselves throughout the year. Fakhri Alam weighed in on the situation, saying the ban would result in going back to the old days. On the contrary, director Asghar Azim thought the ban could be a positive step to have domestic local cinema. Because of that, producers are afraid to invest. It's chicken and egg situation. Regardless, I think we will survive the ban. In fact, it might help speed up our productions. Whereas film director Anjum says just pick one side, either ban or do not ban, and stand up by the decision. This is an emotional reaction. We must either ban them once or for all or don't. People can catch up on the internet. We need a sensible, solid and mature media policy, not an emotional one. I think culture and art should be above all that. In short summary, currents of globalization holding new challenges for change in agriculture and history. Question is how to tackle the influence and the real risk from globalization for upcoming generation, or why we should reduce the influence. Thus, it is giving rise to brand new global culture which goes beyond the boundaries of any specific nation or state. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very informative, very engaging. Questions, please, for
Why have we not seen Pakistani movies in India? I'm not aware of India ever putting ban on it.
There are some, like
Not now, in the past.
In the past, I didn't research about that. Really, yeah. But I think the black and white movies, they used to play. Yeah, that was Hamsafar.
Yeah, because the dramas
Yeah.
were very popular with the oldies there.
Yeah.
So the films were always sidelined because all the time it was like, this is the take on Indian film.
True, exactly the way I said that ministry actually itself said that. So everybody just moved toward the TV and they work on the TV dramas rather than go to the cinemas.
Exactly.
And we just see Hollywood movies on that, in cinemas rather than any other movies. Like we have Punjabi and Pashto movies, and they are hilarious, but still they were there.
Just as I think the war was released in India. The war was supposed to.
War was both
Yeah, just to.
Why is there this pressure on the directors and everything to be so politically involved, and you know the actors they choose if they're from Pakistan? There's just such a uproar, and you know you wouldn't find that anywhere else. And
Yeah, because we were like twin brothers or sisters like that, and we were apart from that, you can say, and we can't live separately and we can't live combinedly. That is my question.
But why does the political divide have to be so? Why do the arts and politics have to be
Yeah,
so?
that's why we, as an artist, we should promote that we don't take a political
Stance.
Yeah, we should be apart from that.
on a side note to that, not just the arts, also the sports, and politics make a bad cocktail. Like,
Isn't it because the industry does influence the culture of the country, so that's why the political
Yeah.
thing.
would have a pretty great. Professor Sabirjin to ask you a question.
Recently, the kind of developments which have been happening between India and Pakistan relationship, and Pakistani artists were not allowed now to work in India, and their films were not properly being released because of that. But then Indian film industry was divided on this, whether the Pakistani artists should be allowed or should not be allowed. What was the impact on the Pakistani film industry? What was the reaction of Pakistani film industry towards this?
I think think they just kept quiet, and the last few lines are like that, now people are mature enough that they said that it's not that you just ban it and it just got banned, because people have many more medias like internet, they can go and search over there, and they are just like in a pause situation. Maybe like in the past it was like come back, maybe they will come back again. So it was like in pause and silent situation over there.
What would be the exact number of theatres in Pakistan currently, and which are the big centres in terms of which are the big cities which have, say, a chain of multiplexes or a certain good number of movie theatres?
Like right now I tell you like 200 cinemas, like working properly, and the Cineplex are in Islamabad, Lahore, Karachi, the main cities of Pakistan, not everywhere.
So would it be 200 screens or would it be 200 cinemas?
200 screens.
I have a question for you. So this is my observation. I just wonder what you think about this. Obviously, film industry in India is very strong, but it also poses a challenge to musicians because the medium to popularize music is very easy through films, but the independent film market is very tough. So in 2005, when I was doing the rounds and went to Sony, and I said, "Oh, we like your song, but pop is dead." But in Pakistan, it's the other way around. Even though the film industry is probably struggling a bit, the independent music scene has just taken off through Coke Studio and Basement. Do you think that is as a result of the film industry? Have they found an alternate route to succeed? What is your...
No, I don't think so, because as individuals they are not connected, and people still, we have musical evenings over there, so people still give permission to their children to sing. So that's why that goes as in they progress without any contradictions.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please join me in thanking Martha.